So the changes I've made this week are, well, it varies, just small incremental fixes. So on the front page here now, instead of showing every possible program, it only shows the programs that are like headers for calls. So in this case we've got the basic ones. The search works now, which I'm not sure if it did before. So we can search for SSD or particular calls, maybe level 0. And we can then select, say, basic calls, and then it shows the calls that are part of that basic part 1. And then this tab, so the stuff that was in the bottom here has now been moved into sequences. So all we see here are the call families, or calls that are relevant to the generation process. In this case basic. We can select or deselect what we want to do, or we can change the weights that we want them to be if we want those particular calls to be more prominent in the generated calls. I don't think the search in here is working, but anyway, we can now say grand square, so right and left grand. We can step through the various calls. The ordering all works. So I click on the top and it reorders that column. What else? I think that's all from there. I think this right hand side is going to have to move into this one because there's no relevance in this particular tab. So in the sequences we can generate sequences that are relevant to this set of calls. Here's some that have already been created, and it's in B1. Oh, an interesting aside, so if you notice, all these ones are in basic 1. C15 are the top level program or call for this sequence, so you can understand that everything in this particular sequence is whatever C15 is and below. So if you're doing if you're up to a particular level in basic, this particular call sequence would be relevant to that, your dance program. But because the basic C15 is actually a different name under SSD, if we go back to the list and select SSD, we then look at sequences. It now says that they're actually part of level 1 or lesson 1, C13. And what else can we do? So now that we've got SSD selected, we can select which formation to start and end in and how long we want them to be. These are search entries at this point, or they're feeding the generate button. So when you press generate, it will generate sequences that start and end in static squares for this particular configuration, and will be 64 beats in length. Let's start that off actually, using only the SSD calls. I need to put in some safeguards here because you can obviously press all these buttons while it's generating, and actually it will crash at the moment if you try and use the interface while it's generating. So I need to put those safeguards in place, but at this point they are icing on the cake, so I'm not going to do that at this moment. So I have to leave that to generate. We talked about the generate last week, so I'm not going to talk over it again. But what you will notice is this protected field. At the moment all these ones are protected, which basically means it's not deleted. And in a moment you'll see a new set of sequences listed that are not protected, and these are the ones that have just been generated. And the idea behind that is you then select a sequence that populates to the right. I will fix the double entries for this as well, so it only selects the one, it only shows the ones that are actually there. It was actually showing it twice last week. So then you get to look at the calls, and you get to look at the dancers. You can just run through it. I still haven't put in place the rules, so you may, if you're watching this really carefully, you'll probably see that there's some illegal moves there. Just ignore those for now. Let's think, what else was there? Oh yeah, the images still work as before by using the up and down button. I notice that when I'm doing the down button, it runs through the list on here as well, so that's not good. I'll need to isolate the keyboard so that it only, it captures the keyboard when I'm doing up and down and doesn't automatically run through all these. You can again use these to order the lists. You can order the program, you can step through them so you can see what's available to you, and the same with the sequences. I'm going to put in an editable field in here so you can change the names, so that you can give them a proper name, or a user-friendly name. Obviously because they're generated, it just creates a placeholder, if you like, for the fields. So let's say, again, we go back to this beginning again, first page, and I notice that they're not listing correctly. I'll have to fix that. There should be more of them here. If I step through, yeah, there's more here, so it's not taking into account this protected field when it's doing the sorting. Another fix. Anyway, so let's say this newly generated sequence, we load it here, so we get 61 here, and let's just move us back to the top. We have a look at it and we think, yeah, I like that one, that's something I can use, it's new, it's a great idea. You just set protected and it'll keep it. But all the ones that are unselected, when I select sequences, it will delete them all and only keep the ones that are protected. The reason it does that is that many of these generated sequences are not great solutions, and so you need to actually have somebody go through them and select each one in turn and just see what it's about. There's still a few of these entries as well are not valid entries. I'll need to go through them at some point. What's left? Yeah, so again, searches if you were only interested in the level 2s. You can do level 2 on the top, and it'll only show the level 2 sequences. One thing it doesn't do is, and I want to add this, so in the, at the moment it's using the social square dance as a way of searching for sequences. It really should understand about what's enabled. So let's say we go to this sequence and we know that it contained, I don't know, a half sachet. And say you don't want that half sachet to be included in any of your sequences you're going to use for whatever reason. Maybe you haven't practiced it or haven't taught it yet. I would expect this system to do to C13. I expect to be able to do this to disable it, and when you come back to sequences, it removes all of the ones that have half sachet in it. But currently that's not the case. It does actually include all the ones with half sachets. Although, looking at this, you wouldn't think it. It does seem to have done something that I didn't expect. Oh well, never mind. Maybe I added it and don't remember doing it. Let's see if it puts them back again. It does. Oh, alright, I've already implemented that. Hey ho. Okay, anything else? So I'm thinking of moving this side of the pane to its own window, so that when you see this screen there won't be this right hand, and you'll only, when you select one of these, it will open this as a full screen. It will mean that perhaps I can then, because I use tabs here to save real estate on the screen, I could split these out so you can actually see the calls happening and being stepped through as the dance happens, which is one of the things you mentioned would be nice, but there's just not enough real estate on the screen to display both these. So if I make it its own screen, I'll be able to do that. I think that's it. I mean, obviously I can do things like changing this to normal lines, and all of these will go because none of these start in normal lines. And yeah, you can also do things like, so when you're generating, you can change the distance between each of these beat lengths. So say you start at 63. So if it was 63 beats, you can say I want to be 63 beats plus or minus 5 beats. And ideally it would show that, well, in this case if it was 0, it really should do nothing. So I've broken something somewhere. I'll have to look at that as well. That was working. I'll do some validation on that. Yeah, so you can then decide, say you wanted to do some call, what's the word for them? Oh, modules. So if you want to do some modules, you'd say I want to make some call sequences that are around about 32 beats in length, and I want them to be plus or minus 10 beats when I generate that, and I want them to come from normal lines to normal lines. I assume that would be a standard thing, standard module. Anyway, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to also have to put in some arrangements here as drop downs to say what arrangement you want to start from and end in. So in this case we've only got 2, and for some reason I haven't displayed. So more work to be done there, but you get the idea. I will update you when that works a little bit better, but that's where I'm going at the moment. Alright, that's all for today. Bye for now.